What happens when the world is pushed to the edge? When viruses don't just infect people, they create monsters. Resident Evil 6 throws us into global chaos. 4 intertwined stories. 1 unstoppable outbreak. From iconic veterans like Leon S. Kennedy and Chris Redfield, to new blood like Jake Muller, Wesker's own son, the battle against bioterrorism reaches its most explosive chapter yet. This isn't just survival horror, this is war. In today's video, we break down the full story, characters, and hidden connections behind Resident Evil 6. The story begins in June 2013 when President Adam Benford visits Ivy University in Tall Oaks to give a speech on bioterrorism, planning to reveal classified information about the US role in the Raccoon City destruction incident. During his visit, a bioterrorist attack occurs. Lopatica releases a C-virus vapor through the university's ventilation, infecting many. Leon S. Kennedy of the Division of Security Operations rushes to help, but finds the president already turned into a zombie. After witnessing him attack a Secret Service agent, Leon is forced to shoot his friend. Helena Harper, who was with the president, takes responsibility for his death, raising Leon's suspicions. Through a call with Ingrid Hunnigan, Leon reports the president's death and is formally introduced to Helena, who mentions a lead at a nearby church. Though skeptical, Leon agrees to work with her and lies to Hunnigan about the lead. Together, Leon and Helena fight through the infected campus and town, helping survivors as they head toward the church. Ivy University, once a peaceful landmark in the heart of Tall Oaks, becomes ground zero for a devastating bioterrorist attack. A deadly virus spreads through the campus, turning victims into flesh-eating zombies within minutes. The city descends into chaos. Among the infected is President Adam Benford, who had come to reveal the US government's role in the Raccoon City incident. Now, a monstrous shadow of himself, he joins the carnage, consuming anyone in his path. Agents Leon S. Kennedy and Helena Harper arrive too late. Leon, once close to the president and a veteran in the fight against bioterrorism, is forced to make a heartbreaking decision. He shoots his former ally to stop the threat. As the horror unfolds, Helena confesses something shocking. She claims responsibility for the attack. She promises to reveal the full truth once they reach the Tall Oaks Cathedral. With no time to spare, Leon and Helena flee the devastated campus. Navigating the chaos engulfing the city, they manage to board a bus, hoping it will take them to both safety and answers. After battling through the infected, Leon and Helena finally reach the Tall Oaks Cathedral. Beneath it, they uncover a hidden lab filled with human-like cocoons. Among them, Leon discovers a disturbing video showing the spy, Ada Wong, emerging from one of the chrysalids. But Helena's promised truth lies even deeper. In the catacombs below, they find her sister, Deborah. Their reunion is short-lived. Deborah begins to convulse in agony, forming a cocoon and soon transforming into a grotesque BOW. As the creature attacks, Ada suddenly intervenes, saving the pair. Her presence unsettles Leon, who remembers the footage of her bizarre rebirth and begins to question her true identity. The battle ends in heartbreak. Helena, with tears in her eyes, is forced to kill her mutated sister. Only then does she reveal the full truth. Derek Simmons, a high-ranking presidential aide, orchestrated the entire Tall Oaks tragedy. He kidnapped Deborah and coerced Helena into helping him assassinate the president. As Ada departs, Leon and Helena attempt to contact Agent Hunnigan, but instead, Simmons himself answers the call. Chris Redfield's story unfolds across a 6-month span, from December 2012 to June 2013. Told non-linearly, the second chapter serves as a flashback to the beginning of the timeline, revealing the tragic event that sets everything in motion. A dim bar tucked away in Eastern Europe, decorated war hero Chris Redfield sits alone, lost in a haze of alcohol and amnesia. With his memories shattered, each day slips into the next, and he drifts further from the man he once was. It's in this broken state that Piers, a loyal member of BSA's North American Alpha team, finds him. Determined to bring his former captain back, Piers confronts Chris and urges him to return to the fight. Awakened by the realization that he doesn't even remember what he's running from, Chris agrees to rejoin Alpha Team. Their next mission: respond to a massive bioterror outbreak unfolding in China. Chris hopes that returning to the front lines will help him recover the memories he lost. But waiting for them in China is a new and terrifying enemy. Resistant to bullets and capable of mutating mid-combat, these BOWs adapt rapidly, evolving into deadlier forms with every injury. Despite the escalating threat, Alpha Team, alongside Bravo Team, pushes through one crisis after another. Their mission leads them to an enemy stronghold, where they discover a nest of human cocoons. The gruesome sight stirs something deep within Chris, a flicker of memory, a single haunting word: Finn. Though fragmented, this memory is the first key to unlocking the trauma that drove him from the battlefield and to confronting the truth he tried to forget. 6 months before he was found drowning his sorrows in a bar, Chris Redfield was leading BSAA Alpha Team in Edonia, a war-torn Eastern European state gripped by civil conflict. There, rebel forces had begun deploying Javo and other BOWs on the battlefield, desperate to turn the tide of war through bioterror. After a prolonged and brutal engagement, Chris and his team succeeded in securing the enemy's base. Inside, they discovered a prisoner, Ada Wong. Intelligence revealed she had been supplying the rebels with BOWs through an organization known as Neo Umbrella and had uncovered the devastating potential of the C virus. Believing they had captured the mastermind, the BSAA began escorting Ada out, but it was all a trap. As the team prepared to evacuate, Ada betrayed them, infecting the unit with the C virus. Chris could only watch in horror as his comrades mutated into grotesque cocoons. What hatched from those cocoons were unstoppable monsters. In the chaos, Chris suffered a severe head injury. The trauma, combined with the emotional devastation, erased his memory. His narrow escape with Piers Nivens became a blur, fading into unconsciousness, marking the beginning of his long fall into grief and self-destruction. 6 months earlier, Ada Wong had orchestrated the massacre of his team in Edonia. Now leading the terrorist organization Neo Umbrella, she is also behind the bioterror outbreak ravaging China. Blinded by grief and rage, Chris ignores Piers's pleas for caution and spirals into reckless obsession, consumed by his need for revenge. Chris begins to remember. 6 months earlier, Ada Wong had orchestrated the deaths of his team in Edonia. Now leading the terrorist organization Neo Umbrella, she is also responsible for the catastrophe unfolding in China. Ignoring Piers's pleas for caution, Chris is consumed by rage and becomes reckless in his pursuit of Ada. During the hunt, Chris and his squad aid a young man and woman being chased by Neo Umbrella forces. They turn out to be Sherry Birkin and Jake Muller, allies from Edonia. But Chris refuses to be distracted. He leaves them behind and continues his relentless chase. Despite losing more comrades, Chris finally tracks Ada to a Neo Umbrella research facility. There, instead of his quarry, he encounters Leon S. Kennedy. The two argue bitterly. Chris insists Ada is behind the attacks while Leon denies it. Tensions boil over until both men draw their weapons on each other. In the standoff, Ada slips away. Though furious at losing his target again, Chris is tempered by Leon's determination and begins to regain his composure. Leon leaves Ada's pursuit to Chris, who, alongside Piers, picks up the trail once more, leading them to a Neo Umbrella aircraft carrier. Fighting through hordes of bioweapons and deadly traps, Chris and Piers reach Neo Umbrella's aircraft carrier. There, they corner Ada Wong on the bridge as she prepares to launch a missile that would spread the C virus and plunge the world into chaos. Before she can complete her plan, a helicopter's gunfire fatally wounds her, and she falls to her death after uttering final words. Chris and Piers attempt to disarm the missile but fall into Ada's trap. The missile launches, releasing a zombifying gas over the city, transforming it into a living nightmare. The missile's explosion turns the city into a zombie-infested nightmare. Amid the chaos, Chris receives a call from Leon, who asks him to rescue Sherry Birkin and Jake Muller, Wesker's son and humanity's last hope due to his C-virus antibodies. Chris and Piers infiltrate Neo Umbrella's undersea facility, but tensions flare when Jake learns Chris killed his father. Before conflict erupts, Neo Umbrella's massive BOW chaos awakens. Realizing the threat it poses, Chris urges Sherry and Jake to escape while he and Piers stay behind. In the fierce battle, Piers is mortally wounded and injects himself with the C virus to fight on, sacrificing himself so Chris can escape. Fueled by Piers' sacrifice, Chris returns to the fight, carrying new hope into the future. The plot centers on Ada's mission to find Carla Radames and Derek C. Simmons. Heading into China, Ada searches for any information on Carla's creation so she can erase all data tied to Carla and prevent any threat it poses. Matchless in skill and renowned in the underworld as a spy, Ada Wong receives an unexpected message from presidential aide Derek Simmons, who claims to have information crucial to her future. Intrigued, Ada infiltrates a submarine with security systems strangely keyed to her fingerprints. Inside, she finds old orders from Simmons about capturing Jake Muller, a young man with antibodies to the C virus. Determined to uncover the truth, Ada heads to America. Good to his word, Simmons' bioterror attacks begin in Tall Oaks, where the president is infected and killed. On her way to Simmons' lab, Ada encounters Leon and Helena, learning that Simmons kidnapped Helena's sister and forced her involvement in the Tall Oaks attack. Ada informs Leon and Helena of the family's existence, then ventures deeper into the lab. There, she discovers a tape showing what looks like herself emerging from a cocoon. She realizes the orders from 6 months ago were given to a Neo-Umbrella doppelganger. Knowing this copy threatens the family's stability, Ada sets out to eliminate her. Ada follows the Neo-Umbrella trail to China, where a bioterror attack even larger than Tall Oaks is unfolding. Picking up BSAA transmissions, she pinpoints the location of her imposter. Along the way, Ada encounters Sherry Birkin and Jake Muller, as well as Leon Kennedy and Chris Redfield, who are also in China. The situation feels like a twisted Raccoon City reunion. Following Chris, Ada infiltrates a Neo-Umbrella-controlled aircraft carrier. On the aircraft carrier, Ada discovers documents about the creation of her imposter. Simmons, frustrated by Ada's refusal to submit to his control, created a clone designed to obey him alone. After countless failed experiments, he finally succeeded by injecting the C virus and Ada's DNA into Carla Radames, a scientist under his command. But Carla's consciousness awakened and turned against Simmons. Ada finds Carla's body, apparently dead, but it revives and attacks her, violently mutating and claiming to be the true Ada Wong. After a fierce battle, Ada defeats Carla, but with unfinished business, she takes a helicopter and leaves the aircraft carrier. Flying into the city engulfed by zombifying gas, Ada sees Leon and Helena battling Simmons, who has injected himself with the enhanced C virus. Ada rescues them, and together they fight through the remaining Neo-Umbrella forces to reach the Quad Tower, where all data on Ada and her clone is stored. Ada decides to destroy this information. Simmons launches another attack, but with Leon and Helena's help, Ada defeats him for good and slips away. Despite the building's instability, Ada reaches the laboratory and discovers Carla's notes and research, including a single cocoon in a glass chamber. Without hesitation, Ada destroys all of Carla's research in the cocoon. As the Quad Tower crumbles, Ada answers a call with a smile. It is orders for her next assignment. Jake and Sherry manage to break out of the Neo-Umbrella facility, only to find themselves in the heart of Lanxiang, China, ground zero for yet another C virus outbreak. Amid the chaos, Sherry contacts her superiors and arranges a rendezvous point within the city. As they make their way through the infected streets, a U.S. government plane crashes nearby. Investigating the wreckage, they discover 2 survivors, DSO agent Leon S. Kennedy and U.S. Secret Service agent Helena Harper. In a tense exchange, Sherry reveals that her direct superior, National Security Advisor Derek C. Simmons, is the one orchestrating the attack. Leon confirms their worst fears. Simmons is indeed behind the outbreak. Before they can plan their next move, the monstrous Ustanak ambushes them once again. After narrowly defeating the creature, the 2 pairs agree to meet later at the rendezvous site to confront Simmons. When Jake and Sherry arrive at the meeting point, they walk into a standoff. Leon and Helena face Simmons, who boldly admits his role in unleashing the C virus. He claims it was necessary to ensure global order, even if it meant sacrificing thousands. Simmons orders his guards to eliminate Leon and Helena, As gunfire erupts, Leon urges Jake and Sherry to flee while they handle Simmons themselves. Sherry, before leaving, hands Leon an SD card containing crucial research data on Jake's antibodies, information that could help develop a cure. Jake and Sherry escape the ambush, but their freedom is short-lived. They are once again captured by Neo Umbrella, dragged deeper into the web of conspiracy, betrayal, and bioterror that threatens the entire world. Jake and Sherry awaken to find themselves imprisoned once again, this time in a massive Neo Umbrella facility deep beneath the ocean. Their situation looks hopeless, until a tip from Leon leads BSAA agents Chris Redfield and Piers to their location. Fighting their way through waves of Javo and BOWs, Chris and Piers eventually free Jake and Sherry. But before they can make their escape, an emotional confrontation erupts. Chris reveals that he not only knew Jake's father, Albert Wesker, but that he was the one who killed him. Jake, overcome with a flood of anger and confusion, pulls his gun on Chris. He fires, a warning shot that just grazes Chris's face. The tension is thick, but there's no time to dwell on it. Suddenly, the facility begins to shake as Haos, a monstrous experimental BOW capable of spreading the perfected C virus, is awakened from its cocoon. Recognizing the global threat, Chris urges Jake and Sherry to escape while he and Piers stay behind to destroy the creature. As Jake and Sherry fight their way through the crumbling facility, the nightmare isn't over yet. The relentless Ustanak returns for one final showdown. In a brutal and emotional battle, the two finally destroy the monstrous tyrant that had hunted them for so long. With the path finally clear, Jake and Sherry make their way out of the underwater base just before it's destroyed, bringing their long, harrowing journey to an end. After their escape, Jake makes a defining choice. He gives Sherry a sample of his blood that could save millions. But instead of demanding $50 million, he asks for just $50, a small price for a fresh start. The BSAA keeps Jake's identity a secret. With the world still recovering from the outbreak, the last thing anyone needs is to know Wesker had a son. Using Jake's antibodies, a vaccine for the C virus is developed and the threat is finally brought under control. But Jake doesn't vanish completely. In the secret ending, unlocked after Ada Wong's campaign, we see him fighting BOWs in a war-torn region, determined to protect others on his own terms.